You ever wake up, look out your window, and see a crowd of people holding lemonade and novelty scissors standing around your locked cedar gate like they're waiting for a parade to start? Yeah, that happened to me. 8:01 in the morning, barely had my coffee, and there's a full-blown ribbon cutting going down at the side of my house. The folding tables got cups of lemonade sweating in the sun. The HOA's hung up a banner screaming, "Grand opening community path," and front and center is my locked gate. My property standing between them and their big dreams of suburban glory. Right there in the middle, our fearless leader, Patrice Holtcomb, HOA president, and full-time busybody flashes her politician's grin, tries the handle. Nothing. She turns to the crowd beams like she's on TV and says, "We'll just, remove this illegal barrier." Someone hands her a cordless saw, and I swear she waves it like the world's worst beauty queen, then fires it up and just slices through my padlock metal screaming crowd, watching with the kind of anticipation folks usually save for gender reveals or slow-motion car crashes. The lock hits the ground with a clang that bounces off every mailbox on the block, and Patrice pushes open my gate with the drama of Columbus discovering America tears in her eyes. She tells the crowd, "The people's path is finally open." And just as everyone's applauding out, I come from behind the garage holding a manila folder thick enough to block a door because, sometimes you gotta come prepared for your own yard. Let me back up a sec. Name's Caleb Rohr. Just a regular guy minding his grill and his audiobook subscription in Maple Hollow, a spot outside Harper Lake where the yards all look like dental waiting rooms, and the HOA newsletter hides gossip behind landscaping tips. I try to stay out of trouble, but in this place, trouble's got a clipboard, color-coded tabs, and a husband named Ted who nods so much I'm worried he'll sprain his neck. This whole circus started over a strip of land not even 4 feet wide running down my side yard to the creek, historic public path. If you ask Patrice, tract B leftover from a dead developer. If you ask the county. And why do I even own this? If you ask me. Been gated since I moved in 5 years ago. Nobody cared until Patrice snagged the HOA presidency 6 months back and started turning our neighborhood into her own private kingdom. Suddenly, mailbox heights are regulated down to the millimeter, and God help you if your garden gnome looks too enthusiastic. The letters started coming, "Take down the gate, spirit of access, section 9. Then fines, gate insolence, still not sure what that means, unfavorable latch choice, and my personal favorite, hostile hinges. She led stroller parades past my gate, telling everyone some fairy tale about pioneers and justice and community spirit. She printed a fake map with a dotted line and taped it to my mailbox like it was the 10 Commandments. Next thing I know, strangers are cutting across at dawn, picking tomatoes off my vines like it's a farm stand. Swear one guy told me, Patrice said it was a community garden. I locked the gate with a chain that could anchor a battleship. Patrice fires back with Path History Night at the clubhouse. PowerPoint blurry photos of random dirt roads, the word freedom in Comic Sans over a clip art eagle. I send a cease and desist from my lawyer, Patrice, posts it on Facebook with crying emojis and the caption, "Caleb hates children having safe walking routes." The neighborhood's at war, half calling me Satan, half remembering when Patrice tried to ban wind chimes for acoustic trespass. I swap in industrial hardware for the gate. Patrice posts an HOA order gate to be removed by Sunday. She CCs legal, which turns out is her nephew, who took 1 semester of paralegal classes online. Kid emails me a wall of Latin phrases he clearly Googled, including habeas corpus, which newsflash has nothing to do with property law. Petitions, vigils, maps. Charter of Pedestrian Rights laminated at the copy shop. Patrice pulls out all the stops. Ted's there every time, holding a lantern in broad daylight like he's searching for the lost city of common sense. I finally drag myself down to county records. Clerk's board looks up my address, hands over a parcel report. Tract B isn't public, never was. It's an orphan parcel behind on taxes up for auction at a starting bid less than I paid for my lawnmower. So I spend a week learning more about plat maps than any human should than I bid. Only me and a developer show up. The developer bows out when he realizes it's too narrow to build on. 30 days later, deed in hand, taxes paid, little survey pins bright as candy canes. And the HOA still thinks the path's theirs. Patrice schedules a grand path reopening ceremony, sends out glossy invites, hires a photographer, even gets a food truck lined up. Come ribbon-cutting day, Patrice struts up in a floral blazer and a hat with a veil like she's headed to the royal wedding. Out comes the saw down, goes my lock, she announces. The people's path is restored. That's when she sees my new sign, Private Property Tract B. Owner Caleb Rohr. Parcel number, county seal. The saw dies mid-whine. Photographer keeps clicking and catches Patrice's face, morphing from triumph to confusion to full-on meltdown. I step forward, hold up my folder, and well, let's just say the crowd sounds like they're watching a soap opera twist. Patrice tries to argue, but I quietly explain the land's mine now, deed and all, and by the way, she just committed criminal mischief by sawing through my property. Ted's clipboard hits the ground. The news crew, suddenly wide awake, start filming. Did I mention I invited 2 deputies? Yeah, I've lived here long enough to know how these things go. They read the deed, the plat map, and my polite email to the HOA last week about the ownership change subject line for your interest tract. B, note my acquisition. Please direct all future correspondence to my attorney. Thank you very much. Patrice, desperate now, starts throwing out legal terms. Adverse possession, implied easement. The deputy just shrugs. Not how that works, ma'am. You'd need 7 years of continuous use, and the owner just showed us a locked gate. I point to the survey. No easements, no rights of way, just a whole lot of neighborhood folklore. The deputy wants to know who cut the lock. Suddenly, every neighbor discovers a fascinating cloud formation overhead. Patrice's blazer looks like it's 2 sizes too big. She gets written up for trespass and criminal mischief. They tag the saw as evidence with a yellow sticker that honestly matches her skin tone at that point. The food truck guy asks if he should pack up. I buy tacos for the whole crowd, everybody except Patrice and Ted. The news crew interviews me while Patrice stands off to the side looking like she's aged a decade in 20 minutes. As the deputy gently explains, yes, she will have to appear in court. Someone tries a slow clap, but it dies off real fast when Patrice glares. She makes one last trembling speech about historical precedent. I pull out the original neighborhood plat plane, as Day Tract B was a utility easement, never public, never a pioneer trail, never anything but a paperwork headache. The deputy asks if I want to press charges. I look Patrice in the eye. Yeah, I do. Next week in civil court, my stack of boring documents turns into a symphony. Deeds, surveys, tax receipts, photos of Patrice playing lumberjack and cherry on top. The HOA's own newsletter calling Tract B community adjacent, which the judge dryly notes is not the same as community property. Judge's eyebrows go up issues. A permanent injunction bars the HOA from even breathing the words public path about my land, reverses fines with interest, and awards me $4, $800 for my lock and my poor, trampled tomatoes. Orders the HOA to send out a correction letter to every resident stating, and I quote, "The historic path is a fiction unsupported by any recorded instrument, historical document, or basic common sense." Patrice goes the color of printer paper. Her nephew, the lawyer, tries to object but fumbles the terminology and gets asked by the judge if he's actually barred. He's not. For criminal mischief, the judge, clearly amused, slaps Patrice with a $2,000 fine and 100 hours of community service. 40 of those hours teaching property law basics at the community center using county-approved materials. The course title, Reading a Plat Map for People Who Hate Reading. The whole courtroom snickers except Patrice. But the final nail. The HOA board calls an emergency meeting over the $800 judgment and legal fees piling up to $6,000 more. Vote to remove Patrice as president. Unanimous. Even Ted raises his hand, though he won't meet her eyes. Patrice stands up, cycling through more shades of red than a fall maple, says, "We'll all regret this. She was just trying to build community spirit." Somebody points out community spirit doesn't usually require power tools and a criminal record. She storms out, slamming the door so hard her President of the Month certificate crashes off the wall and shatters. And that, my friends, is how you win the dumbest war in Maple Hollow without ever raising your voice, just your property taxes and maybe a little hell. Now here's my question for you. What's the wildest thing your HOA has ever tried? Do you think community spirit should ever trump actual property rights? Or is a locked gate the only sane answer in a neighborhood full of busybodies? Drop your stories and hot takes down below, and let's see who's got the craziest HOA drama.